Since 2009, you've been on the board of directors for Make Music Matters. For people listening to this podcast that they're hearing about this charity for the first time, can you just share a little bit more about what that is and why it's important?
Sure. So at Make Music Matter, we use the creation of music to help marginalized communities and individuals. So what that essentially means is we set up recording studios in various parts of the world, and our flagship is in the Panzi Hospital in the Democratic Republic of Congo, where there's a civil war going on, and people use rape as a means of control. So there are a lot of women that come to Panzi Hospital, which was set up by the Nobel laureate, Dr. Denis Mukwege, for reconstructive surgery for the women that have suffered this gender-based violence. These women come get their surgery, then come in groups to our studio, and they start talking about their experiences. We have a music producer and a therapist, and this goes for all the sites we have all around the world. They come in and they talk about their situation. The producer has some music going on in the background, some original chord progressions and some rhythms. They start talking about the situation. They start writing these songs. They believe that they're just here to write some songs. The therapy gets kind of put in under the radar. They're able to sing and record these songs, and they write these things. They become advocates for their situation. Their songs are professionally recorded and mixed, and then we release them out through Warner Music Canada all over the world, and particularly back into their local communities. So not only do they become world advocates, they become local advocates for their situation. They were able to bond with the children that are often born out of these rapes in this particular situation. We treat them essentially not as patients, but we treat them as true artists. So we have a record label and a publishing company where any revenues, and not really very much revenue, gets generated, because these aren't, really pop songs or super popular, and we don't promote them as much other than through our charity. But the reality is that the healing of trauma that comes from this process is better than anything else that's been tried in most situations around the world. And our model is able to heal trauma however it's generated. So we're moving into Indigenous communities in Canada. We have sites with children with disabilities in just outside Aleppo, out of Syria. It's actually in Gaziantep, which is in Turkey, just on the other side of the border. We're working with the educational system in Peru, so kids there. We've worked with child soldiers in the past. We've worked with men, women, boys, girls. This program heals trauma like nothing else. And we've had every program we go through has scientific metrics where we interview, we find their levels of trauma, we find their levels of anxiety and PTSD before and after the program. And it comes back every time from specialist and peer-reviewed studies. Nothing works like this. So we work all over the world with different communities and different groups. We hire local producers, local therapists. So it's not, here comes Western culture to kind of save you. No, we work with people on the ground, and we vet all the people that work in our organization from the local communities. So it's the local community supporting and helping the local community.
And this is really important stuff. You're clearly passionate about it. There's a big list of popular musicians that have, lent their support to the cause, including Ian Thornley of Big Wreck, the Tragically Hip, Alex Lifeson of Rush, Billy Talent, Sum 41, the Trues. How much does it mean to you that these musicians have supported the cause?
Well, it means the world. These musicians know what the healing power of musical creation does. Right? They just know that intrinsically. So it's almost, in a way, it's easy to sell it to them. It's harder to sell to people around the world who think, well, you're just sitting around a campfire singing Kumbaya. It's not that at all. It's actually scientifically based in how we're able to heal the trauma and do things like, so in the case of the DRC, a lot of the kids that are born out of this, they won't get accepted by the mothers because it's a terrible traumatic memory, right? So they'll be shunned. They won't be fed properly. They won't be educated properly. They'll often be targets for militias to come around, turn them into child soldiers to then go back, destroy their own village, and create and perpetrate the same atrocities that ended up that started their own life. So if you can break that cycle through this program, and we have teams, I think we're almost up to 100 mixing engineers now that we send all of these songs that come in and they get mixed properly and released through that. So it's not just like poor recordings and cheap, cheap mixes. We get top professionals to work on these things, and the music gets produced, as well as anything. And we're able to do things like stop the cycle of rape, victim into child soldier into atrocities happening around the world, plus helping communities around. We're looking at working with the Canadian healthcare industry in the Alzheimer's community, right, and trying to help work there. We all know how much music means to people who are going through dementia, or there's just a multitude of ways that what we do can apply to trauma, however it's generated. So yeah, we're partners. Again, I know I'm sort of giving a scattershot thing, but we're partners with World Vision, which is the largest charity in the world. So we work through their infrastructure to reach communities that need our help. And having the support of musicians like Alex, like Ian Dessa and Colin McCaslin, from Sum 41, Ian from Billy Talent, and all the guys in the Trues, and just having those support means so much to us because it validates the truth of what we're doing.
So, man, for our listeners that are inspired by what they're hearing, those that want to support, those that want to donate, how can people donate?
You can go to our website at www.makemusicmatter.org. So Make Music Matter, and there's a donate button there. You can read about what we're doing, where we are around the world, and how we're expanding.
Perfect. So to wrap up, I have two questions. These are a little bit deeper, more about life than music. We've covered all the music we can today. David, what do you think is the meaning of life? What is the point of all of this? I'm sure with what you've just said about the charity, that's a big part about, if you find success, you should find a way to give back to those that could use a helping hand.
I think it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you enjoy the ride and try to leave the room cleaner than when you left. Sorry, try to leave the room cleaner than when you got there. Or, it's cliched, I know, and it's BS, but, if you can help to make the world better, and like the world has gotten better since I was born, the world is a better place, demonstrably. We have, more comfortable lives in the Western world for the most part. We have more comfortable lives. We have better healthcare. We've got, our lifespans are longer. We're healthier throughout it. We're still learning, but things are generally better than they've ever been. That doesn't mean we don't want to keep making them better, and we keep wanting to contribute to make things better. So yeah, clean your room, but enjoy the ride.
Final question. If you could go back in time and you could sit down next to your 10-year-old self, so you have cute little David Bottrill sitting beside you.
I don't know how cute I was.
If you could give some words of advice with all these years you've had of experience, triumphs, failures, mentorship, what advice do you pass on to 10-year-old David Bottrill to help him along the way?
Don't be afraid to ask, I think. Don't be afraid to acknowledge what you don't know, and don't be afraid to ask for what you want, I think is what I would say. Too many times in life, you try to fake it through. I know I have, like, oh yeah, I know that. And then you don't, or, I really want this, but I'm too afraid to ask. All people can do is say no. And I think people will respect you more when you're honest about what you're ignorant about and what you do know and what you want to learn. The great thing in what I do is it's been a nonstop exercise of learning new things and meeting new people and learning, what makes them tick, and what, from a musical standpoint, what people write and how to kind of help with that. So I'd say just don't be afraid to ask the questions that you don't know, and don't be afraid to admit that you don't know something.